This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast coming to you as always from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Galactic Empire. My name is John Martali, and joining me as always is Mr.
Garrett K. Jones, the one and only.
Yes, and we're going to do, since I know you're kind of short on time today, so we're going to get right into it. Celebration wrapped up last week, and they ended with some pretty big news for at least three big upcoming projects that are coming up that we're going to kind of talk about and kind of discuss. And well, which one do you want to start out with first?
Let's talk about the re-release of Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I just actually, ironically, I just looked at that and I saw like a poster of it then, but I didn't realize that they were releasing it, and that is going to be, that is going to be so cool.
I'm really excited for this. April 28th. That's next week.
I know. It's so. I've said it before. One of probably my favorite Star Wars movie, Jedi, holds a very special place in my heart as being the first movie that I can physically remember going to see that wasn't like a cartoon or a little kid. It was Return of the Jedi with my aunt in Chicago. So that holds a very, very special place in my heart.
Well, and for me, I'm kind of the same because you and we're just a couple years apart as far as age. I was about one and a half when the movie came out to theaters. And this is before, movies had a much longer run in movie theaters. They'd be in there for like 2 or 3 or 4 months before they'd get pulled and start. And then it would be like another year before they'd be out on home media. And so you had lots of time to go in and see this movie. And one of my earliest memories is being in a theater. I don't know where it was, but I would remember being in the theater with my mom, with my grandmother, and I think maybe my dad. And we went to go see Return of the Jedi. And I remember that very, very distinctly of all the things I could remember. And I remember collecting the figurines. My grandmother would take me to Thrifty before they got bought out as Rite Aid. And you could get them in the bargain bin and stuff like that because the toys, for whatever reason, weren't selling by the mid to late 80s like they were before. And so that's how I built up some of my small collection. But I only had the figurines. I didn't have any of the accessories like I did.
I had a cousin who had who had Jabba's palace from that set, and that was always cool. But so excited about
But next Friday, April 28th, Return of the Jedi is going to be released to select theaters throughout the U.S. and the U.K. and a few other regions for a limited time. And for me, the last time I got to see it in the theater was when they did the special editions back in the late 90s.
Yeah, I remember that. It's so cool, though, because, if you think about it, now you've had an entire generation grow up who have only seen the original trilogy on the small screen, on television, and on, things like that. And now you're going to have a whole new generation of Wars fans who are able to see one of the original trilogy on the big screen. I'll definitely have to see if it's going to be in my area.
I'm already looking right now to see if it's going to be playing, and unfortunately, like I'm looking for those dates, and it looks like it's coming to the theater in my home area. But I'm looking for advanced tickets, but nothing's popping up yet, even though the release date's a little almost 2 weeks away. Right. So I'm going to be definitely keeping an eye for that because that is going to be absolutely balls to the wall fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The other big news is, of course, they announced the well, let's just get the elephant in the room out of here. A new Daisy Ridley led Star Wars trilogy.
I thought it was just going to be one standalone film. It didn't. I know because I'm looking at it here, according to Euronews.com, and it shows that there's going to be 3 films and the return of Daisy Ridley. So, because I've been keeping track on this through a couple different YouTube channels that I watch. One is The Critical Drinker. The other one is Mr. H Reviews, who's in the UK. Both of them are in the UK.
Yeah.
And then there's a US based one, Snarky J Cosplay.
Okay.
And so from what I understand, there's going to be 3 films. One of them is set. It's James Mangold, the guy who directed Logan.
Okay.
And it's set in the High Republic era. So it's supposed to follow the first Jedi to ever.
Yeah. That one. That's the one. Other one I wanted to talk about is that one.
And we'll come back to that one. The second one is supposed to be a Dave Filoni helmed film that closes off the Mandoverse, if you want to call it that, which sounds kind of lame because it's all set within the same galaxy. And then the third one is going to feature Daisy Ridley returning as Rey. It's supposed to be set like 11 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker, and she's rebuilding the
Jedi Order. Yeah. So, I mean, with that one, is that basically going to be just episode 10?
I don't know, because they haven't said anything about it as part of a new trilogy.
You know, I mean, that's the thing. Is it going to, because, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, you know, what it's going to be. I mean, this could be an interesting way, depending on how they go. This could be This could be a good way to kind of redeem that character somewhat, because she's not a bad actress. I think she did a good job with what she was given, but you know, especially with episode 9, the way that ended, the way that whole thing went down. You know, this could be an opportunity to, you know.
See, here's my concern.
Fix some issues.
My concern is, for one, Rey she's not a likable character. I mean, she's brought on as your typical Mary Sue. Everything, and for those of you who are listening who may not be familiar with what that term means, I'm pulling it up. Hold on a second here. The term Mary Sue is gosh darn it, I had my definition here just a moment ago. Here it is. Okay, so there's 5 key traits that are kind of tied in with the Mary Sue. They can't do anything wrong. So even when like Rey had the potential to go to the dark side, she doesn't even push that boundary.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, like if Luke really didn't want to teach her, if she was that powerful and leaning towards the dark side, he wouldn't have even continued training her. He wouldn't have given her access to the texts, because that should have been a red flag for him. 2, nothing has any serious consequences for them. Think of all the things that she accomplished, all the things that she did, whether she got it wrong, you know, accidentally hurt somebody, whatever it was, there's no consequences. Like in episode 9, had she actually been the cause of Chewbacca's death, instead of them pulling that bait and switch with the 2 ships, that would have had more gravity for her as a character. And we have none of that. There's nothing to lock us as the audience into the character. Third, they are, and I'll come back to this one in just a moment. I'm actually going to skip to number 4. 4, they have several characters pining after them. Now, it looked like the way that things were playing out, that Finn was going to be some kind of like love interest, and then it just goes nowhere. They start, you know, pairing him up with Rose Tico, which fine, whatever. In fact, Rose was a much more likable character, even though she was, you know, whatever. But you know, so there you've got that element there, and then and obviously there's the romance between the enemies to lovers romance trope between Kylo and Rey.
Yeah.
And then they're described as ordinary and flawed, but perceived as perfect by all other characters, which we saw that throughout the sequel trilogy. But the one kicker that I kind of skipped over is that they're what the author aspires to be. And if you take a look at Kathleen Kennedy's background, Rey is a stand-in for Kathleen Kennedy and all the things that she had to deal with when she was working under Lucas. And so there's nothing for this character to do because everything, like the storyline that they're giving her was the storyline that Luke should have been given for the sequel trilogy. So that's my rant, but it will be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah.
However, the person that they have tasked with directing this is Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, who is a activist, journalist, filmmaker, and the most recent thing that she has done is she worked as a director on Miss Marvel.
Okay.
At least for an American audience, everything else looks like it was some kind of Pakistani film. But she's done a lot of work with nonfiction, doing a lot of documentaries. I don't know if I really honestly don't think she's the best person to helm this because there's no investment for her in Star Wars.
Right. The other thing I heard is that they did say that the Taika Waititi Star Wars film is still in the works, but they said that he's holding it close to his. My thing about this is that you know what you're getting when you get a Taika movie. Like his movies are very, very, you see something like Thor Ragnarok. That's basically what we're beginning. And if it comes out in this is a Star Wars comedy, I'm perfectly fine with that.
See, well, and here's the thing: is that Taika Waititi is good when he is helmed or when he's kind of like wrangled.
Yeah.
Like we get a sense of what his comedy style is. The problem is he has a tendency of going for broke and just throwing out as many jokes as possible.
That's true.
Hoping that something will stick, and it doesn't really work. I mean, case in point, you look at the two Marvel films that he's directed. The first one was Thor Ragnarok. The second one was Thor: Love and Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Thor Ragnarok wasn't written by him; it was only directed by him.
Right.
And so that one worked because you had jokes, but you also had really serious moments that had some level of gravity to them that worked.
Yeah.
You look at Thor Love and Thunder and it undoes all the character evolution that Thor experiences between Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame. It undoes all of that evolution for the character and turns him into a joke bigger than Aquaman.
Yeah.
All right. And it like there was no holds bar. Like every scene had something stupid happening in it.
Yeah.
Even a character like Zeus, who's the king of the gods, for the Olympians, he's made to be this prissy little Nancy type character. There's like and especially played by an actor like Russell Crowe, who went from being Gladiator to this, it feels like a fall from grace.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it'll be it. Yeah, I'm not sure how. You're kind of right, especially with what you just said. So, I mean, I like the idea. I like the thought and the idea of having a Star Wars, because Star Wars already has bits of humor in it. But especially if you take characters like Tag and Bank, I think that would be perfect to do a strict a comedy movie with the characters of Tag and Bank. or even a TV show, a series with them. I think it'd be really funny. But like you said, it's going to be, is it just going to be one joke after another, after another, after another?
So, like, case in point, a great example of humor used well in Star Wars. If you take a look at The Empire Strikes Back, okay, while the story was written by George Lucas, the screenplay was written by Lee Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan. Lawrence Kasdan is an accomplished screenwriter. Right. He knows where to add humor and where to keep things serious. I mean, think about the majority of the humor that we see in Empire Strikes Back. It plays mostly in what's happening in the interpersonal connections, like when you've got Luke and Leia and Han in the infirmary at the beginning, and Han's acting like he knows everything about women, but and then come to find out he doesn't really understand Leia at all. And then you have the whole kissing siblings situation. But then you look at when Yoda and Luke meet for the first time. There's some fantastic humor in that. It's all physical humor, because you've got this back and forth between two puppets essentially and a human. And it works so well because because each character has a reason for what they're doing on screen, and it's the circumstances that make it funny. Yeah. Yoda is trying to gain a sense of this future student that he knows about. He knows the history of. He hasn't revealed himself, and he looks like some crazy little alien just rummaging through the stuff. And then you've got R2, who R2 should have recognized Yoda. Simply because, they did encounter each other in the Clone Wars, and he did not have his mind wiped, like C-3PO, but he doesn't. Reasons, okay. That's a plot hole for George Lucas to answer for me in heaven. But but R2 is trying to protect his person, his human, from this potential threat.
Yeah. And then of course you have, I know everybody gets, a lot of people were kind of upset in Rogue One when Vader made the quip about trying not to choke on your aspirations, but Vader was full of dad jokes even look at Empire. Apology accepted, Captain Nita.
There's tons of because Vader's humor is gallows humor. Because think about it. He's a guy who's in pain, constantly physically in pain, constantly dealing with emotional pain and trauma, and like the trauma bonding that he experienced under Palpatine. And he essentially is, inflicting that same pain on other people. Hurting people hurt people. And there's some gallows humor that falls in line with that.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that the next film that we've got coming out, though, you said you really want to talk about the High Republic film that they've got coming out.
That's going to be, because I think they said it's set 25,000 years before A New Hope. So it's even before High Republic. This is like Old Republic.
Oh, this is like way, way Old Republic.
They're saying about you're going to see the first use of the Force, hyperspace being used for the first time, like everything, like the beginning of the foundation of the Republic, you're going to see not only the first Jedi, but the first person to fall to the dark side. You're going to see, I'm interested to see how everything's going to look, because Star Wars has always had that futuristic but yet lived in look, where it looks like you can still things that look futuristic, but still things that look old and lived in. And if you have something that is, set this far back in the Star Wars universe, it could be. I think this could be a really, really interesting and fun. I have a feeling they will, but I kind of hope that this first Jedi does not turn out to be a Skywalker.
Well, and I do too, because, and I don't think it will, because the first time we get to see a Skywalker is Anakin. So, well, and his mom. But here's the thing that's interesting is like going back, I'm looking at James. So the director is James Mangold. So, and as I mentioned, he's the guy that directed Logan. He also did Ford versus Ferrari, the Wolverine. But he's done a lot of really cool stuff over his career. Like one of the first movies, his first big movie that he did was Movie Heavy, which I'm not all that familiar with, but I did see Copland, Girl Interrupted. Kate and Leopold I thought was really fantastic. Identity was a good one that he did where you're dealing with a murder mystery and split personality disorder and stuff like that. But one of my favorite movies that he has done besides Logan was 3:10 to Yuma, starring Christian Bale and Russell Crowe.
Yes.
And which is a remake of a 1950s Western of the same name, same story. But I really love the way that film was done, because the cinematography was fantastic. The dialogue was well done. The acting was spot on. In fact, the standout character in that entire movie, or the breakout character in that entire movie, is Charlie Prince, who is played brilliantly by Ben Foster, and like just a fantastic performance. And so I think that James Mangold could do very, very well with this, being new to the franchise. I think what's interesting is Hollywood has a tendency of doing like 3 movie contracts or 3 picture contracts when they are bringing in actors or directors. And so like you look at, for example, Rosario Dawson now, while she has been tasked with playing Ahsoka in Mandalorian, as well as the Ahsoka series is coming out later this year. She's also coming out with a new movie under Disney, and it's a remake of The Haunted Mansion. And so I'm like, oh, well, there's the Disney contract, rule of 3 kicking in right there. But James Mangold is also the guy who's behind the new Indiana Jones movie. He's the new director. And so this is the first time we've had an Indiana Jones movie, not TV series, but movie, not directed by Steven Spielberg. So that tells me now I'm sure Steven Spielberg has like some kind of executive producer credit on the film. There's no way he's not going to, but there's like Indiana Jones has me a little worried. One, like it's the first movie we've gotten that does not have Steven Spielberg attached to it. However, the flip side of that coin, Indiana Jones 4 was not that great compared to the rest of the films. And, I mean, I can see how the story plays out and how it can theoretically work, but Indiana Jones is more with like mystical type stuff, not aliens. But like I said, I do like James Mangold as a director. I think but I want to hear more what you're excited for in that one. Cause like,
I'm excited like
portion
with what, like you said, with James Mangold, of having, and don't misunderstand what I say this, a more adult Star Wars. I'm not talking a rated R Star Wars, but something that's, I know we just talked about the humor in Star Wars, but something that's, very, very serious, very, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but something that's a little bit more mature, and not in the, like I said, not in the rated R sense necessarily, but just a more mature Star Wars that has deep storytelling, really good storytelling, really good acting. Like we've seen like a Logan, maybe not necessarily the blood and guts and the violence in that, but something that's just more real. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, and just seeing that, history of the early days of the Jedi. And
it would be, it's for me, it's going to be a lot of fun to see how they play with it. There's a lot that they can pull from that I hope they do it well. Because the title, that their working title at least, is Dawn of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And there was a book that came out. There was a book series that came out called Dawn of the Jedi, and in fact, there was a Dark Horse comic written by John Ostrander called Dawn of the Jedi. But under Disney, they started doing a series, and the first book in that series, which goes back the furthest, was called Into the Void by Tim Levin. And I actually, if you go onto my YouTube channel, I actually have an interview with Tim Levin. It was my 100th episode. Or no, I take that back. It was my 150th episode. And Tim talked about this and how it was supposed to be the original story of the Jedi. And a very interesting concept. And it actually uses some elements from John Ostrander's story arc from the comics, which was really well done. And it's supposed to be set 25,000. The timeline of the book takes place between 25,802 BBY to 25,793 BBY. For those of you who are not in the know with your lingo, that is before the Battle of Yavin. So I'm really curious to see how this story plays out. My preference would be that Kathleen Kennedy back way the heck off of being a cook in the kitchen and just let Ming do what he does best.
Yeah, I kind of hope that too. Even especially with the Mandoverse movie, that she just lets Filoni do his thing, and wrap everything up. Yeah. Speaking of wrapping things up, I know you have to get out of here in just a few minutes, so why don't real quick you tell the people out there where they can find you, and we'll let you go, and I'll wrap things up here.
Sounds good. Well, you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at GKJ_publishing, where I post all sorts of things from information about my books, my events that I have going on, as well as promoting my YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is called GKJ Publishing, or if you're just doing a search, just do at GKJ Publishing. I'm the only one. I have a show on there called The Right Way, where we talk book recommendations. I do author interviews, and I do creative writing tips. This month right now, I'm actually in the process of doing a huge author interview marathon. This Saturday is going to be interview number 3 with A.R. Mirabal, who is a podcaster and science fiction author himself. And then the first Saturday of May, which is Free Comic Book Day, that's May the 6th, or Revenge of the 6th for you Star Wars fans like us. I actually have our former co-host, Will Darth Tuba. He is providing his top 10 books, and specifically Star Wars books. I was really glad he went that route because he's got some cool stuff that I haven't even heard of. And I've been editing through the footage that he sent me, and I'm really excited to share that with everybody.
Awesome. As always, it's been a pleasure. I know you said you got to get out of here, so I will let you get out of here, and you got to do what you got to do now, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. I will next same bat time, same bat channel. Right? Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you later, man.
Later.
All right. As for us right here, as always, you can get a hold of us by our email. That's the best way to get a hold of us. It is War of the Stars at War of the Stars at GM. I can talk. War of the Stars 1 at gmail.com. That is also our Twitter handle. All other social medias, just search War of the Stars for Facebook and Instagram. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/War of the Stars, or go to our Spreadshirt shop. Go to spreadshirtshop.com/War of the Stars. Wow, I'm just also one other thing. If you are going to be in the Indianapolis area on May the 6th, I will be at IndianaCon that day. If you are in the Indianapolis area and are going to be there, stop by, say hi. Not going to have a booth or anything like that. Just going to be there with my daughter, enjoying the sights. But if you're a fan and you happen to see a little mini Darth Vader walking around, that'll be us. Come by, say hi. We'd be glad to see you guys out there. Of course, you can check us out wherever fine podcasts are heard. Where am I? Spotify, of course. The best place to find us. Go there. Just search War of the Stars or anywhere else podcasts are heard. Wow, that was a really, really bad ending. But you know what happens. But as always, we always say, remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.